This is kind of an open forum Q&A, opportunity for them to shoot any final questions now that they've had some time to play it, as well as for you guys to shoot any questions to them since they've had some time to play it. Anything that you guys want to ask from a development standpoint, or feedback or anything like that. So I'd like to kind of do these as part of these events to kind of keep that two-way channel of communication open for you guys for other projects, or just get that instant feedback and gratification. And then for you guys aside, just again, any final questions that you may have that didn't come up in interviews or just came as part of playing. Good.
Go. One question I have for you guys is, was there anything that you came in with certain expectations that are different than now that you've had exposure to the game and are some of the people?
The only thing that I expected, or that anybody in my community expected, that I don't see present and that isn't very impressive, would be airplanes, and that's because they hadn't been told officially one way or the other on them, in the case of the airplanes. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I think they're going to be pretty satisfied. It's a very impressive game. Incredibly impressive.
Cool. Thank you. What was your favorite thing to do in the game?
Close the flap. No, it's just really good. There's usually when things in games, when you do something, there's a gratification for the results of your actions. So once you shoot, and then the sound of the gun and the explosion and the after sound or whatever, it's just the whole experience. It's really well done. I always put as an example like Gears of War when you headshot someone, as opposed to headshotting someone in like Call of Duty. It's completely different. You feel so much better when you do it in Gears of War because you see the head exploding, you see the blood, and it's just like I did that. It's awesome. But I won't do it in real life. I promise.
She knows where we sleep. Just so.
Is there different? What was I gonna ask? The hacking sequences. Does it always play out the same way? So it'll be X and B, and then it'll be A and B when you're hacking like a tank.
Oh, the action hijacks?
Or, yeah.
It depends on the vehicle. Most vehicles have different action hijacks.
Mm-hmm.
Most vehicles have unique ones.
But every time you go into like an M1A1, it'll be the same.
We want to reward you for consistently failing at trying to do it. It's really easy to start off, but when you get to like a high later on, it becomes this sort of like more involved process. And the rewards for the penalty for failure is much worse since you're in the air and falling.
Right.
Is there a limit how far co-op can be from each other, or like the two players?
500 meters. Yeah. We just tested it.
They have to maintain their bond with each other.
Why isn't there a difficulty setting? Or if there is there?
No, there's no. I mean, the only difficulty setting that there is would be in the wagers.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's 3 tiers of difficulty in the wagers as you go through each level. But beyond that, there's the only other set of difficulty would be as you progress through the game, you unlock like certain other factions which have much bigger firepower kinds of vehicles and weapons and that kind of thing.
One of the reasons you put difficulty into a game is to make it more replayable.
Mm-hmm.
Mercs doesn't really have an issue with replayability. Once you finish it, you can go right back through and play through completely differently. You don't have to make it harder to make it different.
Exactly for the reason you're talking about, where you can blow a wall. You can approach a mission completely differently if you blow a wall over here as opposed to going around, or as opposed to doing it in a stealth kind of fashion.
I know this is a hard question because of the way the game is designed, but from start to finish, without using the strategy guide, if somebody wanted to find all 52 parts or people and all 100 packages and beat the game 100%, how long would it take them?
How long it would take them?
Yeah, from start to finish.
Well, I mean, the HVTs are labeled in the world. They're part of the free play content. As far as the collectibles, yeah, that would take some exploration. So, I mean, I don't think we ever got QA to do a metric as far as how long it would take it just to do that component.
Okay, well, what about forget the collectibles, but just straight through the whole game from start?
Just the main missions that you need to do. That's about, what do you say, 20 hours?
About
Yeah,
20 hours.
About 20 hours, just to go through the
So you're
critical
talking
path.
at least
The
100
bare
hours.
bones
Just the
minimum
bare
is
bones
20 hours.
critical path, yeah.
Yeah.
You can easily put 100 hours into it if you, I mean, if you're just screwing around having fun. To get 100%, probably say about 40 hours.
40 hours, you're gonna
Oh, I don't know, 100% everything?
Yeah.
I
If
think
you're
it's
really good.
Between
That
60 and
sounds like a
100.
challenge.
I think if you had it maybe with the strategy guide, but those hidden packages are certain.
Yeah, they have. Speaking of which, did you guys find anything that annoyed you while you were playing the game in particular?
I love the idea of the beacon because I tend to get lost in open worlds, but having the square .bu versus an arrow so I know which direction I am versus the line, at first I could not figure out where I was supposed to go and what direction I was in versus the beacon line. And so it took me a while to get used to where actually what
GPS system
direction.
we're talking about.
Yeah, because my inner direction was broken. So, you know, I just couldn't figure it out at
It's
first.
interesting, in an earlier iteration of that, we did have actually arrows leading you to your end destination.
You should talk about
The actual square. Yeah.
Oh, the player themselves, not the path? that
No,
you-
on the path, but it's like the path starts with a square and then dots.
Yeah,
The square itself is you, I
Yeah.
guess. There's nothing signifying what direction you are in
where
versus
you
the path.
pointed, yeah.
So that's what I have to
Okay.
start looking at other side streets and figure out where I was. So.
The paths were a little off. Like we were.
Like on the mini map?
The what?
You mean like on the mini map? We didn't
Yeah, like we were like, okay, this objective is here, so we put it on our PDA. We were playing co-op,
Yeah.
and then put it over there, and we went to where it told us to go, which wasn't where we needed to go,
Yeah.
and then there was no direct way for us to say, okay, we're gonna go. This is what we have to do. So we had to go back out and way around,
Yeah.
and then it just wasn't.
Yeah, the GPA didn't map the exact path we needed to go. We followed the GPA, but we ended up back to where not the target that we mapped. The GPA led us somewhere else.
It'll tell you where to go on the road system. But if you're trying to go off into the jungle or something,
I think that's what it was. We had to
Yeah.
actually go over a mountain.
yeah, they can't really help you out in the jungle because there's no
We
roads.
made our own way though. We just
There you go.
It does seem though that the driving controls are pretty smooth once you get used to them, but the emergency brake is really weak.
Yeah, that's more. It's more of like
Another
more
brake.
just
Yeah.
not a brake, but a way to do cool tricks and quick turns. Because there is the other brake. There is just a normal brake, which I think is X, right?
Yes.
Yeah. On the
Yeah.
Xbox.
The left of the four.
So,
buttons.
yeah, basically it's more like a drift.
Yeah, like the drift button.
And
In a
the
way.
missions, whether it's just me or not, it seems like there still is a delay with the targeting. The first missions that you were trying to help me with, and you have to blow up 50 targets here and 10 targets there, and it seems like especially if you run and gun, like if blast it and knock a lot over, it takes like a couple of seconds for it to register, and then there'll be an icon, but there's nothing there to blow up,
Yeah, that's my bad.
and it's just hanging there. So I didn't know if it was me just not seeing it, or if it was.
It's just a limitation of how the objective marking system works. You're shooting the statues, right? And they're tall.
Well, yeah.
And then, so the way the objective marker system works is it says how high is this object? Okay, put a marker at the top of it. It doesn't care if the object's knocked over or upside down or whatever. It's going to put the marker at X height, no matter what position it's in. And that's like that area right there is pretty much the one place in the game that's an issue. And so we decided it wasn't worth fixing, like changing around the whole system towards the end of the game. Once we discovered that was a problem for people, we didn't want to change the whole system around and possibly break other things in other places. So we just said we're going to let that be and make sure the game shifts and everything works.
Okay.
But yeah, you won't really find that in any other situations.
So it's just a matter of learning how to get through that, and then
Yeah, it's that one spot.
at one spot. Because it didn't seem to be an issue except that
Yep.
mission.
Yeah, it's a weird asset, those statues.
Okay.
The merch2.com guys want to make sure that I ask you guys what was the hardest challenge to overcome and what was your greatest accomplishment in this game.
First challenge was Rick.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
No,
Yeah, okay.
the
both were just shipping the game. I mean, I guess you want something more specific than that, but the greatest accomplishment was actually in the last 6 months, seeing the game go from, you know, the state that it was in then to a really good game that it is right now. Like I was pretty negative a few months ago about the game, about the state of it, and the team just really pulled together and just destroyed it and nailed everything and got it into the state that it's in today, which is much better than I thought it would be. And I'm surprised and very happy about the state that it's in. So that's what I would say is the greatest accomplishment, is just finishing it out.
Greatest challenge would have to be the leap in generations between consoles. And doing a big open world game that's bigger than anything pandemic has ever done before, while making that leap.
Yeah, just the sheer number of assets is huge.
That and I think for me, like one of the biggest accomplishments we've been able to do is also bring in the co-op environment to the game, because as these guys well know, I mean, our game is incredibly complex, and then when you add another player to that mix who has their own set of exponential toys at their will, you can really get the game in really interesting states. So in the sandbox environment, and for us to be able to pull that off and to do it on the fly, dynamically as well, just I don't know, I'm pretty impressed. And I think and hoping that the community, you know, really enjoys that aspect of the game.
That's good.
There's nothing stopping anybody from like joining a co-op game. Like if there's some unlocked costume that somebody doesn't have, they can it doesn't really matter. They can join at any time, at any point in the game. It doesn't matter if they're a rookie as opposed to somebody who's played it a month.
You're kind of a guest inside their version of the game.
But you can bring your stuff in, right?
Yeah.
You can. So you can bring your stuff in. So yeah, we talked about if you've already beat the game and you play your friend who's on the first mission, you can bring your cluster bomb in on that first mission, right? You can bring your carpet bomb in and help them out. Just overkill everything.
There's no sharing type system though. Like I can't give my friend something that
I was
I've
just
already
gonna ask
got.
that, like a crackdown,
Yeah.
the Firefly, it's like.
You
drop
could
the
do,
Firefly.
like if you unlock certain hand-weapon weapons and stuff like that, you could drop it for another weapon and they could pick up that weapon.
Yeah, you could call in, you know, the grenade launcher for them if they don't have the grenade launcher.
And then it goes into their inventory?
Yeah, well, yeah, they pick it up. They got it.
Oh, just for the game?
Yeah, just for
not-
the game.
You don't
Yeah,
get to the
see,
unlock.
Yeah.
Crackdown, you could just go to the load spot and then you'd have it, which, I know it's kind of cheap, but some people didn't, you know, doesn't have time to play everything, so it's like.
We spare no expense on this.
What kind of downloadable software are you looking at? What kind of downloadable content?
I asked today, you won't tell me.
No
It's all
answer.
unannounced right now.
So as soon as we have something, we'll let you know.
Do you guys have Twitter?
Yes.
Don't translate.
You know, I just got into the Facebook thing, so I think Twitter's a little far
Twitter's
off for
awesome.
me.
Yeah, but see, that's how I got hooked in. Somebody said, oh, you gotta join Facebook. And then I started seeing all these Twitter updates. I'm like, what's Twitter? And I'm like, oh my God.
Question, what kind of elements that you didn't see in the game today that you think would be something that the community would love to see in a Mercs game?
Dead civilians.
That's
Yeah. I'm just saying. You know.
It's rated T. I figured it out myself.
I gave Ken a-
Yeah, because I noticed I was
Parachutes.
by mistake I killed a few and they get up like a few minutes, a few seconds later.
There in South America.
I would think in an objective-based versus mode, maybe a 2 versus 2. Like say there's, I don't know, blow up this big giant building. So you got this team over here and you got this team over here, and they got to go through whatever to get to that objective. First one to blow it up wins.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Two teams of two.
Army of Two
That'd be
is
great.
Would it be just as good to have one-on-one?
No.
Like one person?
No, I think the whole team aspect of it, where I could talk to my partner and be like, okay, I want you to slow them down by going over here and do that, and while I'm going to head off to the building, you know, and vice versa. They could do that. It would add more strategy to it. Versus one versus one. Because if it's 1 versus 1, it's just going to be a race to the building where, if you could add the element in of slowing the other team down by using your teammate, I just think it would add something to the game. And if you use it, I want credit.
Persistent damage, like when you knock over a tree, just kind of have it block the road, so then people kind of pile up and you can kind of strategically plan like exit routes.
Yeah, we actually used to have that, and then there was actually some consequences to that was undesirable, where like you have these huge traffic jams pile up, and then it just kind of made things a little ugly a little bit, but
10 FPS consequences, right?
and the frame rate, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you could, if you wanted to block roads and stuff like that, you could certainly do that with other objects necessarily, but I think that was the initial thing that we had seen.
What is like the spawn, like, do you guys know the spawn limit of vehicles at one given time for parameter?
It's always not enough.
Well, no, like, you know, if there's 4 trucks on the road, you know, and you hijack, say if you wanted to make like the world's largest, you know how guys people are, so you want to make a, jack all these trucks and stack them or blow them up. Yeah, I mean, how many spawn at one time?
You can make a ridiculous amount.
It's a lot.
Okay.
I don't know how it compares to Mercenaries 1 specifically, because I've seen some first one beta.
Oh yeah, the first one it was, but it was like,
But more
after
than
a
you
while
ever
it started
need
to look
in an
like
area.
crap. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, it gets so high, but with our draw distance in this game, you know, it wasn't so bad. But you can do quite a bit. I don't know what the number is.
Well, because you know that's people are going to do that and start loading it up on like YouTube and everything else and say, look what we did, you know.
We love that. We encourage that.
Yeah.
Because you chose to do achievements on the 360 and not trophies on the PS3, I was just wondering if is it just that much harder to kind of implement that sort of thing on the PS3? Are you not getting assistance from Sony?
It's harder when the trophy system comes out like 2 weeks before you ship. It just came out. I know Drake's just patched theirs in, but we just, you know, it came out literally basically after we finished the game. So it wasn't any more difficult. We just didn't have time.
But they didn't key you in early in the process and say, here's how you can.
Yeah, I think it's more of what Drew said. It just happened eventually so late that we've been churning on this game for 3.5 years solid, you know, and so it's been pretty crazy just to get to this point today. Not to say that we couldn't if it had been available earlier.
We could totally do it. Yeah. Oh yeah.